let's talk about Mission Impossible, Fast and Furious 6 through 10. Forgive me about that. So basically, I talked about 1 through 5 in the last video. There's going to be a Fast and Furious playlist because apparently I've talked about Fast and Furious a lot already. So there's going to be a Fast and Furious playlist in the description of the next like few videos that are coming out that are Fast and Furious related. So yeah, let's get started. Yeah, Fast and Furious 6. But yeah, I do highly recommend you go and watch that video. It has like 300 views. It got like 200 in like a day, in like 3 hours, which is so cool. Thank you so much for those people who watched that video, and for those two people who subscribed. So yeah, so let's get started on Fast and Furious 6. Once again, waiting for it to switch over to 1. Okay, let's talk about Fast and Furious 6. So Fast and Furious 6 is about Hobbs basically reassembles the team along with Dom to track down this dude named Owen Shaw, who's been hitting like military shipments, and of course Letty is in his crew. Letty seems to be an amnesiac who does not remember being a part of the family, the familia, and Dom and Brian and co have to remind her what being a part of the Toretto family is all about. And yeah, this film 6 is my personal favorite. I think it has the best mixture of the comedy, of the stunts, and there's only one stunt that kind of breaks the laws of physics, at least in my opinion, but like it's so cool. Like you have cool like practical car stunt work. Like they really made a tank move like super fast and stuff like that. Like the tank bridge fight's real. It's really cool, and I think it has the best mix of sort of the soap opera drama of the franchise. And yeah, it's just my personal favorite. I also love how evolved the Dom and Brian relationship is. I said it in the last part, and I'll say it again here. The Dom-Brian relationship, I think, is the best part and what made this franchise unique. And of course, all credit goes to Vin Diesel and Paul Walker truly being friends, and you can really feel that through the camera, permeating every sort of shot that they have together. Even in the lesser films, Paul Walker and Vin Diesel were able to have that camaraderie, were able to have that brotherly bond that made this franchise so special. And of course, I think The Rock has the best mixture of the Luke Hobbs and his real life persona sort of mixed, because Luke Hobbs is very, like I said in the last part, very hard knocks, I forgot when I gave you a goddamn choice, boy, like that. And the Rock being like, can you smell what I'm cooking, like that. And it's the best mixture of it. And I like Han, I will say that. I do like Han, but this is the film that connects to 3, and it hurts my brain, but I think this is the best that the timeline kind of feels. It starts to get a little Swiss cheese in the next few parts, and of course Letty's return. I think this is where the resurrection I think makes the most sense. I think some of the later films kind of have this problem of like, oh, we keep resurrecting these characters and stuff like that, and like I think Letty is the only time it really feels right and makes sense that, oh, we've brought back this character, and it makes sense to bring her back, and it's logical on how we bring her back. Only time in my opinion that honestly works. And yeah, but yeah, I love this film. It's number 1 for me, and number 1 for my grandma who loves these films is 5, and I think 5 and like 6 and 7 are kind of like the main ones that everyone says are their favorites. So yeah, that's personally my favorite and stuff like that. Next is Furious 7. So Furious 7, in the last film, they take down Owen Shaw. Well, Owen Shaw, it was mentioned briefly, has a brother named Deckard Shaw. Deckard Shaw is played by Jason Statham, and now the crew has to reassemble to beat Jason Statham. And Jason Statham's, his whole thing is being like, I think the badass. He's a hardcore British badass who shows up and can, put the fear of God into the Furious, into the family of the Toretto family. And yeah, I think Jason Statham does a good job. I will say he turns good, and that's a bit eye-rolly, but I think Jason Statham does a good job at playing the menacing villain well. I do like Jason Statham in most of the things that I've seen him in. I don't think I've seen really a bad thing from him where he's bad. And granted, I haven't seen a lot of Statham movies, but I've never really seen anything where he's bad. You know what I mean? And and of course, I think that this film is directed by James Wan. Justin Lin left in the last film. He did 4 Fast films in a row, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna bow out. I'm gonna do other projects. And what kind of spurred this a little bit was Universal wanted to make a 7 immediately, and he's just like, I kind of want to take a break, And so he did take a break, and so he went off, took a break, and James Wan, forgive me, took over. And of course, I love Aquaman. I like the first and second Conjuring films. Those are really the other films that I've seen from him. And I think Aquaman's probably his best film, at least in my opinion, that I've seen of him. But this is really good, and I think he does a good job here directing and making this feel like a Fast and Furious film. But I will say, the big ode to this, the big thing that this film does is, of course, the death of Paul Walker. Paul Walker died late 2013, and they spent the whole rest of filming trying to figure out how to honor him and how to continue his performance, because they had 50% of his filming done with the character Ryan, and they worked tirelessly. His 2 brothers, Cody and Caleb, I believe are their names, filled in for him. They did voice work, and they also just filled in because they looked very much like Paul Walker, and they lent a physical body. But of course, Weta Studios, the people behind Avatar and The Hobbit, they did the face replacement. And the Uncanny Valley is one of the hardest bitches to pin down when it comes to visual effects. And by God, I think they did it. I do like to sort of look very carefully whenever I watch 7 and look to see, okay, is that fake, or is that the digital Paul Walker, is that the real Paul Walker? But there are just so many shots where you cannot tell genuinely, and I think it's some of the best actor post-mortem replacement, or filling in with digital, with pre-recorded elements of that actor. I think this is the best it's ever been done. And I think a lot about how they did this and how they did Carrie Fisher, and those are very different techniques, but I think they're very much the same, where I think in 20 years no one's gonna pay any mind to Carrie Fisher because to her performance in 9 being kind of wonky. I don't think anyone's going to notice. I think they're going to be like, oh, that's a little, it's a little strange that they killed her off halfway through, but they're not going to make up. No one's going to think, oh, she must have died, that's why they did it this way. But with Paul Walker, I think that Fast and Furious 7 is going to go down in history as one of the most impressive digital replacement ever, because it genuinely is that impressive. And I love Fast and Furious 7. I think it's really good, and I actually went a little overtime there. Sorry about that. The price you pay for actually, last time it was a 4-minute timer, and then for Fast 5 I changed it to 5. This time I'm just gonna keep it all 5 minute. I'm gonna have it a 5 minute timer. So yeah, so real quick before we talk about Fast and Furious 7. So obviously Paul Walker dies in between the making of 6 and 7. Paul Walker was always kind of the mediator. You know, he was the cool head in the room. You know, Vin Diesel was very much ego based. You know, he very much was the guy who believed in this franchise the entire time and wanted to make these films great and wanted to make the lore as complicated as possible. You know, he's very much that guy. And of course, The Rock at the time in 2015 was talking about how I'm franchise Viagra. And you know, there was a joke in like the show, the HBO show that he did called Ballers, where someone's like, "Are you Vin Diesel?" And he's like, "No, I'm way handsomer than that guy." And of course, Vin Diesel took that very personally. He didn't like that The Rock seemed to be taking over the franchise that he felt that him and Paul built. Personally, I think this franchise could have and should have ended at 7. I think 7 is the perfect, and I love 9, but I think 7 was the perfect send-off for this entire franchise. But they pressed and they continued on, and that leads us to Fate of the Furious. Fate of the Furious is about Cypher, played by Charlize Theron, the worst villain of this entire franchise. I know I complain about Baraka, but Baraka looks like fucking Stephen King, like fucking Shakespeare, compared to Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron, I think this is like the worst I've ever seen from her. Her haircut's awful, and there's multiple platitudes, empty, just hollow platitudes that Cypher, her villain character, has about fate and family and how you can't outrun your. It's like, shut the fuck up, genuinely. Like, God, I genuinely annoys me and baffles me that they like thought that was the direction to go with her character, and like it's just, you know, utterly obnoxious. And of course, this film famously, Vin Diesel and The Rock couldn't share screen time together. Like, they couldn't be in the same room together because they just didn't like each other. You know, they're having a pissing contest essentially in the behind the scenes, and so that's very apparent. And like The Rock, I don't know, at this point he still kind of feels like Hobbs, but like he's very much kind of leaning more towards The Rock. The Rock is trying to take over this film, and this film just isn't that good. It's not like the worst of this franchise by any stretch of the imagination, of course, but like it just feels very. It feels like, yeah, like they broke up the family, you know. Vin Diesel is off doing this with his spoilers for this entire franchise, but he's off because his like Puerto Rican girlfriend, who is played by Chris Hemsworth's like real life wife. She, you know, we meet her in 5 in season 6. Well, she apparently had a baby in between. I guess that Brian Little B must have been born in around the time of 6, right? Like chronology wise, even though like 6, 7, and 8 kind of happened very close together. That he must have been born sometime in between 6 and 7, right? Timeline wise, if the timeline makes any fucking sense in this universe anymore. But like he's off doing that with Little B, trying to keep that baby alive, while the rest of the family are trying to bring him in because he's gone rogue and like they're wanted criminals now, and it just is so convoluted. And I love Helen Mirren, but her appearance is a part of the convolutedness of this film, and this film is just so convoluted. Like, okay, Dom can't let his family know that he's secretly working for Cypher because of his baby son, so he has to use Deckard and Owen Shaw to like like secretly at some point break baby Brian out of jail, or out of the imprisonment that he's in. And it's just, it's so tonally confused, so just overly complicated. And this franchise, I think in 6 or in 7, kind of started to get a little complicated, where like, okay, 4, 5, so 5, 6, and 7, I think, are the Rafa Khan trilogy of Fast and Furious. It's Rafa Khan, Search for Spock, and A Voyage Home are, like, in Star Trek terms, like the trilogy within the entire, like, original 6 movies, like, saga. There's a little trilogy in there, and that's very much what Fast 5, 6, and 7 are. And they're great films just like those, but even in 7, the cracks are starting to show a little bit, where like this franchise, this lore is getting too complicated. And this is just like the tipping point, honestly, in my opinion, of overly complicated fluff, honestly, in my opinion. And that sucks. So on Sunday, well, Monday, I recorded Sunday, but on Monday I will talk about Hobbs and Shaw, so you have that to look forward to. And I promise you, Monday, this video was actually supposed to come out today. It's coming out tomorrow. Well, tomorrow for me, but this will happen on Monday. I promise you that. So that leads us to 9. So 9 is the return of Justin Lin. Justin Lin saw basically what was going on with the other films. It was just like, okay, things are getting a little too complicated. I'm gonna come back and try to bring it as back to basics as I possibly could. So he came back and did F9. That's where the shirt came from. And I actually watched this in theaters during the time I had my YouTube channel. I just didn't review it because I didn't review the other ones, and I didn't want to review them out of order. So complicated, right? Well, now I'm reviewing them, but F9 is about, so Dom apparently has a brother we didn't know about, played by John Cena. And Jacob Toretto is the younger brother of Dominic, and he doesn't like being in the shadow of his brother, so he broke off and is now an international, like, spy criminal. And John Cena, I think, does a good job playing him. John Cena is one of the, like, 3 wrestlers turned actors who I think is really good. My personal favorite is John Cena. Dave Bautista is probably the best actor because he's really worked hard at honing his craft. But I think John Cena is so charismatic, so lovable. I think he really does a good job in his roles. That being said, I think John Cena did a good job playing this character, and I'm usually not the biggest fan of the sibling you didn't know about, is apparently here now trope. I hate that. Go watch, I believe I mentioned this in my reviews, or in my 2 reviews for Uncharted 4, but I personally hate when we do that. I hate and of course I mentioned it just recently in my Rush Hour trilogy review, that I hate it when we bring in the sibling you didn't know about. It just annoys me, because how did they not come up before? It's very convoluted. I hate it. But I think this film is very fun. I think Justin Lin understands the mixture, the right ingredients, how to mix the flavors together to make, between the action, the soap opera, the comedy, the car stunts. I think that he understands how to make all those different potions, all those different ingredients come together in the Fast and Furious, like, stew. And I love the Fast and Furious stew, but sometimes they don't make it right. And I think Justin Lin knows how to make it right. And I think he's rumored to be in the running for the new Spider-Man 4 film that Tom Holland's going to do. I would watch that, because I think he's a good director. He's a good director who will show up and I think deliver a product that is worthwhile. So if he does do Spider-Man 4, I'm all there, because he did a good job here. And yeah, I love certain soundtrack beats now, and them going into space was honestly ridiculous. But I will admit, I did get a little emotional in theater because I thought they'd actually kill off Roman and Tej, especially since this was supposed to be like the beginning of the end of the Fast Saga. I thought they were really going to kill off Roman and Tej, and then of course they don't kill off Roman and Tej, and I was like, that kind of sucks that they didn't do that. But now it looks like none of them are gonna die, so joke's on me. Okay, let's talk about Han. So Justice for Han started at the end of Fast and Furious 8, Fate of the Furious, where Deckard, now I don't really like Deckard being a good guy, but basically at the end of 8, Deckard is allowed to be at the barbecue at the end, and a lot of fans were upset. Well, Justin Lin was also upset because Han was his baby. Han was the character that he brought over from his little independent film that he made in 2002, brought him over into Fast 3, and basically took him along the journey from 4 to 5 to 6, in leading into his death in 3. And he wasn't happy about the way that they handled Han's death after he left, and he brought him back. And death has no meaning in this franchise anymore, and I like Han. I do like Han. I do think that he stays a little stationary. He doesn't really have a character arc throughout his multiple appearances, unfortunately. A byproduct of being dead in a movie. You can't have him grow too much. But I like Han, but his death is so convoluted and it just makes no sense. And honestly, I kind of accept it because these are soap operas. These are just soap operas, and you know, I watch them. I love watching the fast films that I love, but I tolerate the films that I don't love. Speaking of films I don't love, segue, but a segue that's on fire and full of nos, to Fast X. So let's talk about, Fast. I questioned myself for a second. Fast X. Also, I don't really like how dark this is. I don't know, but I do appreciate that it's in the shape of an X. But yeah, I don't really like how dark this is. But yeah, let's talk about Fast X. So Fast X is about Dante. So this film is a basically direct sequel to Fast 5. I hope to someday actually watch Fast 5 and Fast X back to back. But this is a direct sequel to Fast X. And I actually talked about this film previously in a video I did a few months ago, which will be in the Fast and Furious playlist, called, are basically comparing the 2 part 1s that we got last year, this being like the first of those part 1s. And so I won't touch too much on what I touched on there, but I'll bring those points up. This film is about Dante. Dante is the son of Herman Reyes. Herman Reyes is the villain of 5, and Dante Reyes, played by Jason Momoa. Forgive my neighbors. They're always watching like football when I'm doing these videos. What the hell? Or laughing at something. My neighbors, I love my neighbors. They're good people. They watch the channel. Shout out to you guys. Frank and Elise, I'll say your name. Where was I? All right. Jason Momoa does a good job, I think, at playing Dante. Dante is a I think, heavily queer-coded villain who's very eccentric, very crazy. He's very much like a queer Joker, in my personal opinion. And I think Jason Momoa does a good job playing the character. It's just that I'm never afraid of Dante. Unlike his father, Herman Reyes, I could fear Herman. I can't fear Dante, really. And that stinks, because Dante Reyes, I think, could have been a good villain. But all he is a good performance and a good actor, and not much else. But this film also has other problems. But a compliment I will give this film is I like John Cena. John Cena now, so he played I think a really good villain in Jacob in this film. Now he's just playing John Cena. They have taken him from being the serious evil brother of Dom to basically being John Cena. And I think his scenes with Little B are actually really good. Little B is now being played by like a 10-year-old instead of like a little 4-year-old like in the last film. And I think this kid actually does a good job playing Little B. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see him, and they're cool car stunts. The little rolling bomb in the middle of Rome that you see right here, that's like a real ball that they rolled. I'm sure that they used, you know, like I'm sure they filmed in actual Rome, but they probably also filmed in other places. And those physical places where the ball is physically allowed to destroy things, I think are pretty impressive. It's not exactly like the bomb. It's like a fake ball that they can roll around, that they digitally put the bomb onto, you know. But it is quite impressive what they did with the ball. Compliments are over. This movie stinks. This movie honestly is where joy goes to die. This movie is so slow. So the first like 90 minutes of this film feel like a regular Fast and Furious movie, and honestly the whole film feels like a regular Fast and Furious movie. But you can tell at the 90-minute mark that the heads at Universal and that like probably Vin Diesel as well were like, you want to know what? A decade ago, splitting your final movie into 2 parts was cool. What if we did that? Doesn't that make us out of touch? Fire him. No, we're gonna split this movie into 2 parts, and okay, they're halfway through writing the script. Tell them. So they tell Justin Lin and the other guy that, hey, we're gonna split this into 2 parts. So 90 minutes into the film, the pacing starts to slow down. You know, what felt like a normal Fast and Furious movie now starts to feel a little different. It's no longer just your plain Jane Fast and Furious film. Now it's different. Now it's like, oh, slow down. And it's just like, okay, why are we slow? And it turns out, now, like Deckard Shaw, his mom, his mom just got kidnapped or something like that. Roman, Tej, and Ramsey. Oh, I didn't even talk about Ramsey. She's fun. I like her. She's a hacker character, and is a lot more believable as a hacker than Ludacris is. She's from Game of Thrones. She's fun. But like those 3 people, now they have to board a plane and get to Puerto Rico, to Portugal, where Dom is. But they have to do it slowly now because we have like 40 minutes of the movie left. Michelle Rodriguez, forgive me, her character Letty, and Cypher, because now Cypher is a part of the Familia. They have to team up to break out of prison, but like they can't break out of prison too quickly because now. And the rest of the movie kind of plays out like honestly, if this film didn't immediately just abruptly cut to credits like an hour or like 2 hours and 7 minutes in, it honestly, leading up to the final like chase with Dante, kind of feels like a regular Fast and Furious movie. And that's the problem with this film, is that it just feels like a regular Fast and Furious movie. Whereas like, oh, that's weird. Jason Statham has to go save his mom now. And then, SpaghettiOs, it ends. And this movie, and this is a point that I made in that comparison video that I'll link below within the playlist link. But it just, this film and Across the Spider-Verse were the same length. They're both 2 hours and 20 minutes long. This movie ends at 2 hours and 7 minutes and cuts to credits. Across the Spider-Verse ends and cuts to credits at 2 hours and 13 minutes. There's a 7-minute difference in official like end to end without the credits, whatever. And that is utter chicanery, utter bullshit to me, because this film is just a nothing burger. This is, I think, the worst Fast and Furious movie. I don't like 4, but 4 at least had the Brian and Dom relationship. This has nothing. This has more empty platitudes and more of just the things that weigh this franchise down. And without Justin Lin, because this movie is directed by the guy who did the Transporter movies and the guy who did The Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk is probably Louis, whatever, he's like French, is probably like his best film. This is not The Incredible Hulk. This is not a good movie. And it honestly, like, Vin Diesel threatened at the premiere of this film that this could be a 3-part finale. And if it does, I'm seriously done. Like, if we get like a week away from part 2 coming out, and they say, actually, this is going to be part 3, I'm done. I'm genuinely done. I do not like this film at all. This is the worst film, in my opinion, of the franchise. I'm done. And let's talk a little bit about my predictions. Because this film also has Brie Larson in it. And watching it, I was like, oh, Brie Larson, they kind of waste her. She gets shot, but the way they say it and the way they talk about it after she gets shot, it makes me think that she's going to have a surprise comeback in the next movie. So here are my predictions. Number 1, I think Mr. Nobody, who disappears in this film, or disappeared in the last film, and still disappeared in this film, I think he's going to come back. He's going to have probably his daughter, played by Brie Larson, with him. And they're going to be doing cool spy stuff to Dante. I think The Rock, who Dante talks a lot about how Dom killed his dad and how he wants revenge on his dad, and every member of the audience who knows this franchise well is like, well, I mean, The Rock, or Dom didn't kill your dad. I mean, he threw a save at him, but he didn't kill him. The Rock did, Hobbs did. Well, at the end of the film, Hobbs shows up and is like, oh, you want me because I killed your daddy? Well, come and get me, you some bitch. Like, okay, so I think The Rock is going to show up and probably go toe-to-toe with Dante, maybe, but, like, he's going to lose. Dante is going to get the upper hand. Maybe not kill Hobbs, because they still have to make more of the Hobbs and Shaw movies, but, like, I think he's going to escape that fight somehow. And then I think the final fight is going to be Dom and Dante probably have a big fist blowout. And I don't think Jason Momoa strikes me, from interviews and behind the scenes that I've seen from him, strikes me as a very humble, very lovable teddy bear of a man. I don't think he has the big egos. And there's a video called Furious Egos by This Was a Shit Show. 2 million views. I don't have to recommend it to you, but I will put it in the link in the description down below. So go check out that video. It's like almost 30 minutes long, but it's a really good video, and I highly recommend it to any Fast and Furious fan who hasn't seen it yet. I may show it to my grandma pretty soon, because she loves these films. Although I don't think she's seen 10 yet, because she didn't really like 9 as much as I did. But yeah, those are my predictions. Something I don't want, that I'm very worried that they're gonna do, is bring back Brian. And I love Brian. I think they because Paul Walker, unfortunately passed away in real life, but Brian, the character, they just at 7 had a very emotional send-off for him, where they let that character retire and go off into the sunset as a hero. Like the old West, like the old Westerns, when the heroes ran off to Mexico. And I think, and that's very touching. 9 ends with the family sitting down for their classic barbecue, and ends with the fam having their classic barbecue, and of course Brian was and of course they're like, wait, we can't eat just yet. One chair is empty, and then a blue little car pulls up, and it's implied to be Brian, because Brian in the universe is still alive. I'm so worried that they're gonna bring back Brian, and I hope to God I'm wrong. Like, this movie, like 2026, I believe, is when Fast 11 comes out. I seriously hope I'm wrong. To the bottom of my very core, I hope I'm wrong. Comment below, let me know what your favorite films in this series is. I will probably give you my ranking during my Hobbs and Shaw review. Then my ranking is on Letterboxd. I've watched all these films and logged them into my Letterboxd. So if you have not followed me there yet, go check me out, because you may possibly get some behind the scenes for upcoming videos. But who knows? But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much. I hope to see you Monday when I review Hobbs and Shaw. Thank you so much for listening to me blabber about these films for the last almost hour or so. If you watch both these films, if you watch both part 1 and 2 together, it will be an hour. Thank you for watching, listening to me for the last hour or so. Remember, I'm just gonna get these ready to get back up on the shelf. Remember that God made you special. He loves you very much. I hope you're having a very lovely day. I hope you have a very lovely rest of your week. God bless you. And as always, never be afraid to have a Corona. Although I don't really drink alcohol and have never had a Corona. God bless.